Rain dripped from my bangs as I stood on the curb, watching the movers unload gilded furniture into Emma's new mansion, a wedding gift from our parents. A $2.8 million tribute to their golden child, nestled in the most prestigious corner of Boston. Meanwhile, I lived above the bookstore I worked at, in a studio apartment where the roof leaked and the heater wheezed like an asthmatic ghost. Isn't it perfect for them? My mother cooed, oblivious to the fact that I was soaked through. Emma and James will be so happy here, plenty of space for little ones. I forced a smile, fingers clenched around a rain-smudged greeting card I could barely afford. It's beautiful, Mom. Emma appeared in the doorway, luminous in her designer coat, her diamond ring catching what little light pierced the clouds. Madison, there you are. What do you think of our little starter home? Starter home, like a mansion that costs more than I'll likely earn in a lifetime, was just a warm-up. It's lovely, a generous wedding gift. She laughed, that effortless, champagne glass kind of laugh. Don't be jealous, Maddie, she said, using the childhood nickname that always made my skin crawl. I'm sure there's someone out there for you too. Maybe one of those literary types you work with. Mom chimed in, chipper as ever. The Henderson boy is still single. He's an accountant now, very stable. At 32, I held a master's in literature and was deep into the second draft of my first novel, but to them, I was still the family experiment that hadn't panned out, the daughter who'd chosen passion over profit. I should get going. My shift starts soon. On a Saturday? Mom frowned. But we're having a family dinner to celebrate Emma's new home. Some of us don't get weekends off. Emma rolled her eyes, still so dramatic. Maddie, you make life harder than it has to be. They always called it help. The scholarship to business school I turned down. The job at Dad's firm I never accepted. The parade of suitable dates. But their help came tethered with expectations, control, golden handcuffs disguised as love. The bookstore's understaffed, I said, turning to leave. I need the hours. Well, Mom sighed, at least take some leftovers. I hate to think of you eating alone in that tiny little place. What she didn't understand was that my apartment, small as it was mine, my haven, my freedom, a quiet place filled with books, art, and possibility. The next morning, I grabbed coffee at Pete's corner store. Pete had been running the place since the 80s and always treated me like one of his own. Madison, he beamed, eyes twinkling. Did you check your ticket? What ticket? He leaned in like we were sharing a secret. The lottery. From Thursday. You bought one, remember? I pulled the crumpled slip from my wallet, already half forgotten. Just a silly impulse when the jackpot had hit record numbers. Pete nodded toward the TV behind the counter. Check the numbers. My phone trembled in my hand as I pulled up the lottery site. 71324314253. I looked from the screen to the ticket, and then back again. Once, twice. Pete, my voice cracked. I know, he said, grinning like a proud uncle. You hit all six. $97 million. You're a winner, sweetheart. The air left my lungs. I gripped the counter. Pete gently guided me to a chair. Breathe. This is big, but don't say a word to anyone. First thing, sign that ticket. My hand trembled as I scribbled my name. He tucked the ticket into the store safe, poured me water, and called his daughter, a sharp, kind-hearted financial attorney. Caroline will meet you in an hour, he said. She'll help you do this right. I nodded, dazed. My family. Pete rested a hand on my shoulder. We'll deal with them, but this is yours. Don't let them take it. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Brunch tomorrow to talk wedding plans. Wear something decent and try not to be late for once. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back. Sorry, can't make it. Something more important came up. For the first time, it wasn't an excuse. 3 weeks later, I sat in a sleek office, signing the final paperwork to claim my winnings. Caroline had worked magic, setting up trusts, cloaking my identity, helping me start the publishing company I'd always dreamed of. When we file this, she said, your name becomes public. Are you ready? I thought of everything I'd done since, leaving the bookstore with dignity and generosity, buying a modest house tucked in a quiet neighborhood, surrounding myself with the calm I needed to write, to build, to dream. I nodded, yes. The next day, headlines exploded. Former bookstore clerk wins $97 million jackpot. Aspiring writer turns millionaire overnight. Madison Bennett, Boston's quiet Cinderella story. My phone lit up like a pinball machine. Old classmates, distant cousins, strangers who now remembered my name. But I had already found something more valuable than money. clarity. Let them reach out, let them wonder. For once, I wasn't waiting for their approval. I had my own story to write. The texts came in rapid succession, one after another, in the order I'd expected. First, Emma, OMG Maddie, why didn't you tell us? Call me immediately. Then Mom, Madison Elizabeth Bennett, how could you keep this from your family? We're coming over. Where are you living? Finally, Dad, your mother is beside herself. Call us this instant. I turned off my phone. In the quiet that followed, I poured myself a cup of tea and settled into my new home office. Morning light filtered through the windows, brushing the garden in soft gold. Soon, I'd turn that little patch of green into a reading nook, a place to breathe, to create, to be. The doorbell rang. I glanced at the security camera feed, Caroline's idea, smart woman, and there they were, my parents and Emma, standing stiffly on my porch. Emma looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread, while my mother kept fussing with her designer collar. I took a deep breath, smoothed the hem of my sweater, and opened the door. Madison, Mom launched into full drama. Why haven't you returned our calls? And how in the world did you afford this house? The lottery money hasn't even been released and… Hello, Mother, I said evenly. Would you like to come in? They stepped inside, their gazes sweeping over the tasteful furnishings, the tall bookshelves, the warmth of the place. Their surprise was almost amusing. Emma ran a manicured finger along a shelf. Well, I suppose now you can finally afford a better neighborhood. There's a colonial for sale near me, only $4 million. I'm perfectly happy here, I replied, but thanks for the tip. Mom's voice turned syrupy. Darling, you must understand, this is a life-altering amount of money. You'll need proper guidance. Your father knows some of the best wealth managers in. I already have a team, I said, and it's Madison, not Maddie. Emma rolled her eyes. Don't be difficult, we're trying to help. God knows you've never been great with money. Remember when I loaned you $10,000 for that silly startup idea? You mean the loan you've never let me forget? The one I repaid, quietly, in full? Her face flushed. That's not the point. I needed. What you needed, I said, standing now, voice clear, was to be held accountable, something no one here has ever asked of you. Dad cleared his throat, color rising in his face. We've always supported you girls equally. I actually laughed. Equally? Emma got a mansion, a luxury car, business school, and a dream wedding. You gave me a lecture at graduation about how I'd regret not going into finance. Mom's voice broke. We were worried. Your choices were so impractical. You mean they didn't fit your mold? You wanted me to be Emma. I paused. But it was my impractical choices that got me here. That bookstore job you all pitied? That's where I bought the winning ticket. Emma crossed her arms. Well, now you can finally live a real life. We can help you invest, introduce you to the right people. No. The word was quiet, final. Silence fell over the room. Dad's expression hardened. What do you mean, no? I walked over to my desk and retrieved 3 envelopes. Emma, I said, handing her the first. This is a cashier's check for $110,000. The loan you forgot, with interest. Her mouth opened, closed. Mom, Dad, I handed them the second envelope. This covers every dime you've ever given me, college, birthday gifts, that down payment you offered and then withdrew. I kept receipts. $15,000. I don't owe you anything now. And the third, I continued, holding it up, contains documentation proving I've already launched a publishing company, established a literacy nonprofit, and secured my finances with top-tier advisors. Their faces were stunned, speechless. I didn't need your advice before, and I certainly don't need it now. Mom's voice was small. But, we're family. Yes, and family should support you even when they don't understand you, not try to remake you in their image. I walked to the door and opened it wide. I have a meeting with my foundation team. We're funding new libraries in underserved neighborhoods. You'll read about it soon. You're making a mistake, Dad said stiffly. You'll regret cutting us out. I smiled, calm and steady. No, Dad, you regret not believing in me, and now you're afraid I don't need you anymore. Emma stood, her eyes narrowed. You think you're better than us now, because of a lucky break? I looked at her and shook my head. No, Emma, I always was. You just never wanted to see it. They turned to leave, but Mom hesitated, her voice cracking. Madison, please, we were wrong. We see it now. Can't we start over? I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. She didn't seem grand. She seemed small, human. Maybe one day, I said gently, but not today. I closed the door behind them. In the quiet, I returned to my office, where the manuscript of my novel waited, pages filled with a story about a woman finding her voice after years of being silenced. It was time to write the next chapter, on my terms. 6 months later, the launch party for Bennett Publishing House was everything I dreamed of. We transformed an old warehouse into a magical space, an inviting fusion of books, art, and possibility. Local authors whose works we'd signed mingled with literary agents and journalists, while children from our literacy program proudly displayed their own stories in a special corner. It felt alive, full of heart. Pete stood beside me, grinning like a proud father. "Look at what you've built, Madison, and not a penny wasted on showing off." He was right. Instead of buying a shiny downtown tower, I'd chosen to renovate this historic building. It felt authentic, a space where writers and readers could feel at home. The millions I'd won had been carefully invested into education programs, supporting emerging authors, and building something truly meaningful. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Saw your company in the business journal. Must be nice having everything handed to you. Bit of a crisis. James lost his job. We could really use some family support right now." I deleted it without responding. Over the past months, they'd tried everything: guilt, manipulation, feigned kindness, and finally, outright demands. Emma's starter mansion was too small now. Mom and Dad's country club membership needed renewing. James's failed investments needed covering. I'd ignored them all. "Miss Bennett?" A young girl tugged at my sleeve. Sophie, one of our literacy program students, clutching a notebook to her chest. "Will you read my story?" "Of course, Sophie." I led her to a quiet corner, kneeling down to her level. "What's it about?" "A girl who finds a magic pen," she said shyly. "Everything she writes comes true, but she has to figure out what's really important to write about." I smiled. How often wisdom comes from the most unexpected places. "Madison." I looked up to see my mother standing there, looking out of place amid the casual atmosphere. She'd lost some of her polished perfection. The past months had taken their toll on them. I knew Dad's firm had lost major clients. Emma's perfect marriage was beginning to crack, and their social circle was shrinking as resources dwindled. "Mom, this is a private event." "I know, but I had to talk to you." She glanced at Sophie, who was still busy with her story. "Alone." I turned to Sophie. "Why don't you show your story to Miss Sarah? She's our children's book editor." Once Sophie skipped off, I turned back to face my mother. "Well? Your father's company is failing," she said bluntly. "Emma's house is being foreclosed. Everything is falling apart, and you're here, playing with children's stories?" I stood up, anger flaring. "Playing? Look around. Mom, really look. See those kids? They're learning to love reading, to believe in their own voices. See those authors? They're getting chances they never had before. This isn't playing, it's building something real." "But your family has never respected my choices," I interrupted. "Even now, you're not here because you care about what I've built. You're here because you need money." She flinched, a soft, almost painful expression crossing her face. "We're still your family. Are you?" I walked her over to our wall of success stories, photos of children reading, authors signing their first contracts, community programs making a difference. Family celebrates each other's victories. Family supports each other's dreams. "When was the last time you asked about my novel, my goals, my happiness?" I don't know. Exactly. I turned to face her. "The lottery didn't change who I am, Mom. It just gave me the freedom to stop seeking approval I was never going to get." Her eyes filled with tears. "We were wrong. I see that now. But can't you forgive us?" "Forgiveness isn't the issue," I said gently. "I forgave you months ago. That's why I'm not angry anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting people keep hurting you." "What do you want from us?" "Nothing. That's the point. I don't need anything from you anymore. And until you can want a relationship with me that isn't about money or status or your idea of success, we don't have anything to discuss." A commotion near the entrance caught my attention. Emma had arrived, with Dad and James in tow. "Really?" I sighed. "You all came to ambush me at my company's launch?" "We're desperate," Emma cried, mascara running down her cheeks. "James lost everything in that investment scheme. The bank is taking our house, and Daddy's company is dying. Please, Maddie, you have to help us." The room had gone quiet. Our guests tried to pretend they weren't watching the drama unfold. I looked at my family, really looked at them. Dad, gray and deflated, no longer radiating power. Emma, dressed in designer clothes, but now frayed at the edges, desperate for a lifeline. Mom, torn between her pride and her need. No, I said firmly. Dad's voice cracked. Then, make us a different offer instead. I pulled out my phone and swiped through a few photos. This is Carter Financial Services, I said, showing Dad a contact. They're looking for experienced advisors with community connections. They've agreed to interview you for a senior position. No guarantees, but a fair shot. I swiped to the next photo. Emma, the local arts center needs a fundraising coordinator. With your social skills and event planning experience, you'd be perfect. And James, I showed him a contact card. My friend's construction company is hiring project managers. Real work, fair pay. You want us to work for other people? Emma asked, horrified. I want you to earn your own way, like I did. Build something real. Find out who you are, without the fancy titles or borrowed money. And if we refuse? Dad asked stiffly. Then you'll figure something else out, but you won't get a dime from me to maintain the lifestyle that made us all so unhappy. Emma stepped forward, surprising me. The arts center, they really think I'd be good at fundraising? Yes, because you are good at it, when you actually try, not just when you're trying to be the perfect daughter. Emma wiped her eyes, smearing mascara. I don't know how to be anything else. Yes, you do. I took her hand, an unexpected gesture, but one I felt compelled to make. You're smart, capable, and determined. Use those qualities for something meaningful, not just appearances. Dad cleared his throat. The position at Carter Financial, when's the interview? Tomorrow at 10. Don't wear your Rolex. Show them your experience, not your ego. One by one, they nodded, not happy, not grateful, but maybe thoughtful. As they left, Mom turned back. Your company, it's really amazing. Madison, I'm sorry we never saw. I know, I said softly. Maybe someday, you'll see me, too. After they were gone, Pete appeared at my side. You okay, kiddo? I glanced around, at the publishing house, at the lives we were touching, at the stories being told. You know what, Pete? I really am. Sophie came running back, waving her notebook. Miss Bennett, Miss Sarah loved my story. She said maybe someday it could be a real book. I knelt down beside her. Want to know a secret, Sophie? She nodded eagerly. Every real book starts with someone brave enough to tell their story, like you, like all of us. Later that night, I sat in my garden reading Nook, working on my novel. My phone buzzed again. A message from Emma. I have an interview at the arts center tomorrow. Any advice? I smiled, typing back. Be yourself, your real self. The lottery hadn't just given me millions. It had given me the chance to show my family, and myself, what real wealth looked like. Not the money in my bank account, but the courage to finally be exactly who I was meant to be. And that was worth more than any number could ever measure.